Hi, this is Karen Gaines, your nonprofit finance guide, and today I am going to talk about what happens if you do not file a 990 tax return. Okay, so we're coming up on the end of the calendar year, and for a lot of nonprofits, a lot of tax exempt organizations, the calendar year is their fiscal year, and that means that the 990 tax return is going to be required. It's going to need to be filed. Okay, so before I really get started, I do want to state that I am not a tax accountant. I've done a few 990s in my time, but I am not an expert. So I just want to put that out there. If you need guidance or assistance with your 990, you'll want to reach out to your tax accountant for further advice and expertise. Okay, so a 990 tax return is required. Is required to be filed by all tax exempt organizations. It's more of an informational type of return, and it lets the IRS, funders, donors, any other third parties, lets them know what financial position they are in. Okay, it lets them know or details out how funding was utilized for the fiscal year. It provides information about the nonprofit, about how they ran their organization operationally, provides details about their board of directors and how much their board of directors got paid, and the type of grant assistance that the nonprofit received for the year. And not all nonprofits, or excuse me, not all 990s are the same. There are, of course, your traditional 990s. These 990s are for your average tax exempt organization. They have revenue or income of over $500,000, I believe. But they're a little bit larger. Okay. So those are your traditional 990 forms, and those returns are, a little bit longer in nature to file. They, ask more questions, have more details, and etc. And then you have your 990EZ. Your 990EZ is for your smaller nonprofits. I believe their revenue is like under 500,000, of course, but it's smaller than your traditional nonprofit that would file a traditional 990. And then you have your 990N, and that is the postcard 990s. And those are for your very, very small nonprofit organizations. Then you have your 990PF, and those returns are for foundations. And your 990Ts, and that is your tax exempt organizations that have unrelated business taxable income. Okay, so that just a little bit about 990s in general. All right, so the main reason, again, for filing the 990 tax return is to provide information. It provides transparency. Provide transparency to the IRS, to the public, to anybody who wants to see, because they have that tax exempt status. Okay, people want to know what is going on with their money, especially the large donors and funders. All right, so what happens when you do not file a 990 tax return? A few things could happen. One, it could mean revocation of your tax exempt status. All right, and no, you don't want that, because to get that status, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of paperwork, a lot of details on the 501c3 form or whatever form you're filling out. It's a lot of work to get that tax exempt status. So if you don't file your 990 tax return 3 consecutive years in a row, the IRS will revoke your tax exempt status. okay? And then you have to go through all that work to get your tax exempt status back, all right? You have to reapply by filing for Form 1023 or 1024. All right, so I know you don't want to do all of that, so it's just best to file your 990 tax returns every year. You might be charged late fees and other penalties. So if you are a nonprofit that has to file a 990 or a 990 EZ, you might have to file, or you might experience penalties and late fees if you're not filing your tax return in a timely manner. So this could range. It depends, as far as the penalties and late fees are concerned, it depends on how small, how large your nonprofit is. And it also depends on how late you are in filing your tax return. So it could literally be like a few dollars to thousands of dollars, okay? Again, depending on the size of your nonprofit and depending on how late you are with filing that 990. Another consequence of not filing your 990 is that the public may not trust you. Donors or potential donors may look for your 990 tax returns because it's 990 tax returns are available on the IRS site as public information. Anyone can get to it. But if a potential donor or potential funder is looking for your 990 and see that you've not filed in like a year or two, that may, kind of tarnish your image, okay? They may, or just the public in general, may get the impression that you are not organized. They may get the impression that you're trying to hide something because you're not being transparent by filing your 990 tax returns, all right? So, none of that may be the case. None of that may be the case, but it's all about image. It's all about how they perceive you, all right? You also might draw attention to the IRS, and you don't want that either. If you're not filing your 990, the IRS may see that, may notice that, and it may trigger them to ask you questions, about your nonprofit, and possibly an audit by the IRS. And you don't want an audit by the IRS. It just takes more time out of your already busy schedule. All right. So if you are a nonprofit and you've not filed your 990 yet, or you're even going to be late filing your 990s, it's best to file an extension. Okay, file an extension so that it gives you some room to get your books together, find a tax accountant so you can get that filed. All right. And with the year end coming up, it's important to make sure your books are in order. Make sure, each month is closed, it's accounted for, so that when you hand over your books to your tax accountant, they can easily complete your 990 tax return. All right, so hopefully this video has been helpful. Let me know what you all think. If you're watching via YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching and have a great day.